We're only a few days away from one of the most exciting times to be a RuneScape player. On November the 15th, Jagex will release the Trailblazer Reloaded League. My name is SoloMission, I'm a rank 1 high school screenshotter and definitely 3-time Dragon Trophy winner. Just don't fact check that one. And I've managed to snake my way into giving you my top tips and tricks for the upcoming league. From the noobs to the pros, I guarantee you'll learn plenty of new information from this video. If somehow you haven't had the privilege of experiencing a RuneScape league, let me quickly explain. The Trailblazer Reloaded League is a 2-month temporary game mode with incredibly boosted XP rates and other huge passive buffs. In leagues, everyone is an Iron Man and the name of the game is to complete tasks for points, and with points you then unlock very powerful relics that boost your gameplay. And it's just a lot of fun. It is so fun. A completely fresh way to experience RuneScape at a lightning pace. In Trailblazer Reloaded, you start in the regions of Mistalin and Karamja, and as you complete tasks, you're able to choose 3 additional regions to make up your map. And as you can imagine, with so much going on, there's a lot to take in. Let me give you a hand. Disclaimer, RuneScape is a game. Games are supposed to be fun, so do whatever you find fun. Alright, so my first tip is going to sound absolutely ridiculous, but make sure you do the league tasks. Tasks unlock relics, passive buffs, and areas. They get you to where you want to be faster, the fun stuff. The most common mistake I see people making in leagues, from the casuals to the pros, is embarking on a long grind with an unprogressed account. For example, someone might try and rush to Dragon Implings off the bat because they think it's a good strategy, but you're probably not that far away from an XP multiplying relic buff that would massively speed up your hunter experience and therefore be way more efficient overall. So my first tip is to save long grinds for when you have more relics and passives saved up. Speaking of relics, you might want some advice on picking out your first one. As soon as you spawn into Trailblazer Reloaded, you instantly have to choose one of 3 tier 1 relics: Endless Harvest, Production Prodigy, or Trickster. Endless Harvest doubles the resources from woodcutting, fishing, and mining and sends them to your bank. You also receive the XP for double resources when gathering them. Production Prodigy: when doing actions of smithing, crafting, herblore, fletching, or cooking, all resources are processed at once, and you'll also gain an additional 25% of the product sent directly to your bank. On top of that, these production skills will receive a permanent plus 12 boost. Lastly, Trickster: you can't fail actions for agility, thieving, hunter, and firemaking. Pickpocketing loot is doubled, and your character will repeatedly pickpocket with 1 click. Box traps launch enchanters faster and give double loot. You'll fire make 9 logs at a time, and you'll be given Sage's Greaves, which are boots that give agility XP just for running around. But which one should you choose? I'm going to try and be unbiased here and run you through some pros and cons that you might not have considered for each relic. For Endless Harvest, the pros are obviously that it's amazing for an AFK playstyle. You can click once on a Karamja spot and be AFK fishing for 25 minutes. Those double resources also stack up in the bank, so it's great to train secondary skills like cooking, construction, firemaking. And of course, this relic gives double XP in gathering skills: fishing, woodcutting, mining. These are slow skills, so Endless Harvest is guaranteed to save you a lot of time. The main downside for Endless Harvest is that it only actually affects 3 skills, so if you don't plan on doing too much gathering, you might not feel the benefits that much compared to the other options. Because of the double XP and double resources, I don't think this relic will ever be a bad choice, and if you're all about that work from home lifestyle, if you know what I mean, I think this will be a good pick for you. Now, Production Prodigy. The pros are there's an undeniable time save from instantly processing resources. Also, the 25% extra product is huge, especially for instances that allow you to double dip. Take smithing for example. You get 25% bonus bars from the ores, and then you get 25% bonus products from the bars. Also, plus 12 on all your production skills will help massively with snowballing and completing early tasks, and extra processing speed will always be useful. It's not going to fall off for the end of the league. Now, for the cons. If you like to relax, Production Prodigy is quite fast paced. It takes away a lot of your AFK time and you're constantly doing a lot of clicking with banking and doing the inventory. Secondly, often with production skills, the resources are the bottleneck, not the production time. However, Production Prodigy affects a lot of skills directly and it's multifaceted. So once again, it's a good option and probably why early polling shows that this will be the most popular tier 1 choice in Trailblazer Reloaded. Lastly, we have the Trickster. Now, the pros are, considering all the benefits, it makes Hunter about 3 times faster, Firemaking is at least 5 times faster, Thieving's 3 times faster, and Agility will be trained passively with the Sage's Greaves, constantly giving you XP for running around, which will just feel very good. Thieving double loot can really help accelerate the early game. For example, something as basic as thieving a guard is 180k GP an hour with this relic, and that's that's possible about 5-10 minutes into the league. Trickster also will be a bit region dependent, whether it's good for you or not. For example, in Tyrannwyn, you can thieve elves for crystal shards, which convert very well to fast crafting and smithing XP. And the same is true for Mauritania with blood shards. If you're going to be doing a lot of melee, you might want to pick Trickster. I'd say the main downside with Trickster is, once again, you're speeding up what are pretty fast skills already. So how much time are you really saving with this relic? That's the main criticism. Not to mention, a lot of the tasks will get you XP in these skills anyway. Why do you need agility boots when you're going to have to run around rooftops at some point for a task? Right, so that's all three. And I don't know, am I allowed to spread propaganda on the Jagex channel? Here we go. I'm doing it. The gloves are off. I think if you're unsure about what to do, you should pick Trickster. It's going to feel the nicest in the early game. The first 50 hours, Trickster will definitely be the best. It might fall off a bit late game, but by then, you've made loads of money thieving. You've run around with your little boots on. Having said that, though, there isn't really a bad choice. These relics are hotly debated right now, and it's split pretty evenly. Jagex did a great job of the balancing. If you want to read some of the discussion around these relics, get involved in some debates, you can head over to the official League's Discord, and that's my next tip. Join the official League's Discord, because this place is a gold mine for information. It's incredibly fun in there, speculating over the new announcements, the teasers, and what's going to be in the league. You can also use this Discord for help, ask people, find teammates for group content throughout the league, and hey, maybe you'll even make some friends. This is a big tip. I highly recommend checking it out. There are a bunch of guides in there as well, so the link will be in the description. Right then, let's talk a little bit about regions, the whole theme of the Trailblazer League. I'll caveat this whole discussion by saying you should be picking areas that you enjoy the content within. So after considering that, picking areas with good synergies to make your life easier is a great idea. For example, say you want to go after those shiny new Desert Treasure 2 rings. You're going to want the Desert for Desert Treasure 2, Fremnit to get the base Dagonoth King's rings, and then a third region depending on the boss you want to kill. An example of a synergy from Trailblazer 1 was you had to pick Kandarin and Asgarnia to unlock Piety, but in Trailblazer Reloaded you only actually need to pick Kandarin. There are so many different synergies for specific items, so if there's something you're after in this league, I would double check on the wiki, because the wiki team have done a fantastic job of showing you where different things come from in the Trailblazer League, what regions you need for certain quests, where you can get certain items, and other things to consider with tasks. Right, an example of a dangerous trap you might fall into is if you picked Desert, Wilderness, and Tyrannwyn. You would have no herb patches, so herb lore is gonna be another struggle. Or maybe you just hate herb runs, and that's the beauty of Trailblazer. You really can blaze your own trail. Now, saving the biggest region debate till last, let's have a talk about combat. So in the Trailblazer League, we essentially had to choose a primary combat style which got massively boosted. In Trailblazer Reloaded, this choice is coming back. So what are you gonna choose? Range, melee, or magic? Each of the three combat relics buffs damage and accuracy, but the main thing is attack speed is boosted for your chosen style in the following way. 2-tick weapons become 1-tick. Think knives, blowpipe, and darts. 3, 4, and 5-tick weapons all become 2-tick. This means any mage spells, scimitars, longswords, crossbows, and all other slower weapons become 3-tick. The main consequence of this is that attack speed 5 weapons get the biggest buff overall, as they're comparatively sped up the most by 2.5 times. First, let's consider the range relic, Archer's Embrace. These conditions plus double bolt procs mean that it's really the crossbow's time to shine this league. And this is going to give rise to what I think is going to be the most popular basic build in the Trailblazer Reloaded League. Desert, Zaya, and Asgarnia. These regions pretty much max out range bonus and build around the Zarite crossbow, the Armador crossbow, and even the Rune crossbow. For range, let's just say a quick prayer for the Boffa and Blowpipe in Tyrannwyn. They are still a really good option for range DPS, but Ruby bolting with the Rune crossbow just takes over them at anything with high hit points. As for the Mage Relic, Superior Sorcerer, every mage attack in the game will now be the same speed. This is a huge buff for the Ancient Magics, which will be incredibly strong in the early game, and the Shadow of Tumakan providing the power in the late game. So in my view, the Desert is a must pick for mage. It's also going to be incredibly hard not to pick Kandarin as a mage, as it offers the Occult and Tormented Bracelet for a combined 15% magic damage, which is massive. Then for the last magic region, I'll leave it in your hands. There are a few good options, but I think I'd fancy Fremnit for the Magus Ring and a Saturated Heart. you'll also have a decent shot at Virtus from your desert pick on that grind. Lastly, the melee relic is Brawler's Resolve. I think this is one of the most flexible combat styles when it comes down to the high damage regions. My first recommendation would be Kandarin, so you lock in that piety, and then any of the following: Desert for the Fang and Soul Reaper Axe, Mauritania for the Scythe and Blood Fury, or Asgarnia for loads of strength bonus, the Defender, you've got Torva, Primordials, and also the God Swords for utility special attacks. But my main piece of advice when thinking about regions and gear is to not think too much about the destination. It's going to be about the journey. You probably will end up using a Dragon Long, a Rune Crossbow, or Ancient Magics for most of your league experience. It's up to you if you want to pick regions for their endgame weapons, but keep in mind it does take a lot of time to get these things. So like I said before, I would pick regions with content you're going to enjoy over going for some sort of meta build, which takes hours and hours to achieve. My next tip is to subscribe to the Old School RuneScape YouTube channel. You play this game, how are you not subscribed to the channel already? Come on now. Now I want to touch on the passive buffs. Normally they're not crazy exciting, but there's quite a lot of change this year. XP rates in the league will undoubtedly increase as the league goes on, but cooler than that is the drop rate modifier now goes all the way up to 5x, so you might not go too dry on some things. Last Recall will also be returning this year, but it's going to be a passive unlock. If you don't know, with Last Recall you can click on the Crystal of Memories and it will teleport you back to a destination you've just teleported away from, which is super strong in the original Trailblazer. However, this league, as Last Recall is a passive, it now has a cooldown effect that starts at 6 minutes but will be reduced by 1 minute for every 300 total levels gained. This means by the time you're 1800 total level, there will be no cooldown and it's back to the good old days. So the tip here is get skilling and get that total level up, because you're going to want to use Last Recall. Also, as I alluded to earlier, minigame points will be buffed up to 8 times the rate, and here is a list of all the minigames that are effective. As you can see, a lot of these grinds are well renowned for being rather loathsome, so this passive should alleviate some concerns about infamous minigames. I'm looking at Maze Training Arena in the desert here. I'll highlight some key areas of interest for you with this minigame buff. After doing some quick napkin maths, it looks like it's possible to get your full void in under an hour. Not to mention at pest control, your base XP an hour can max out at over 500k for prayer and 1 mil for combats. And similar crazy levels of training are on offer at the boosted Soul Wars too, that we all have access to as it's on the Isle of Souls in Misthalin. Which also means that imbues are back on the menu for everyone this league. This multiplier is going crazy in the league. Do your mini games, guys. And my last piece of advice to you is to just have fun in this league. And the biggest decision you're going to make is you have to play it. Make sure you log on the 15th of November, play Trailblazer Reloaded, because these things come around every couple of years, and hand on heart, it is the most fun I've ever had in Old School RuneScape, so I'm hoping to see lots of new faces in the league this year. And tell me in the comments what regions and relics you're picking, because I still haven't decided. I need some inspiration.